Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. I love tank style dress watches. I recently sold off my Longines Dolce Vita and bought the Hamilton Bolton because this looks brilliant. And side by side, this just looked more elegant. The Longines was kind of blocky and big, and it had a date window. I know, I'm so weird about date windows. Tonight we're going to take a look at some other brilliant tank style dress watches. So let us begin. The first watch I have up for your consideration might have suffered the same exact fate as the Longines, and for the same reasons. This watch also has a date window. However, instead of being a tank Americain homage, this one looks a lot closer to a reverso. The Oris Rectangle. This watch retails for just under $2,000. What I love about these watches is the variety of colorways it's available in. You can get these watches in green, white, blue, and red. The case has a great Art Deco vibe with a stepped element on its sides. The dial is very interesting. It has not one, but two railroad-style minutes tracks, one around the border of the dial and the other just inside of the indices. It has Arabic numerals at 12, 3, and 9, and a date window at 6. The dial is busy and yet so classy. The hands are a sort of sword style that get wider near their ends. They are a perfect fit for the watch's aesthetics. The size is perfect, and this is just a gorgeous dress watch that has a similar aesthetic to a reverso. As for the specifications on this watch, the case size is 25mm, the lug-to-lug is 38mm, the lug width is 19mm. Again, why? Why with the odd lugs? The case is steel, the crystal is sapphire. The movement is the Oris 561, which is based on the ETA 2671. The water resistance is 30 meters. Next on my list is actually a brand, Alpha. It appears that Alpha has made a number of tank-style dress watches. However, in browsing through their website, I don't see any current models. So if you're after one of these, you'll likely have to try and find them used. The Alpha tank that I've seen online that I personally like is this one. And like the Oris, it has a stepped case. The step on this one is much more pronounced, and the case itself is more square than the Oris. It has a railroad-style minutes track around the edge of the dial and great-looking spear-shaped hands. The sub-seconds hand is so fun, being an actual arrow shape. The font, and indeed all over appearance of this piece, is very whimsical. It is part of a limited run, however, of only 400 watches. A few issues I have with this watch. Alpha went with a mineral crystal. I feel like for dress pieces, going with either acrylic or sapphire would be much preferable, because mineral does scratch, and when it does, it's really difficult to get the scratches out. Polywatch does make a product designed for mineral crystal, but my understanding is you pretty much have to use a Dremel to get it to work, and even then, it's a lot of work. Also, this watch appears to be somewhat thick. This may be a consequence of the seagull movement inside it. I know the NH35 is a thicker movement. Perhaps that is the case with this one as well. Going with a hand-winding movement in this watch may have helped to mitigate some of its thickness. And thinner is just more elegant. Lastly, it has a 22mm lug width, which isn't so much an issue with the watch itself. I get it, wider lugs work better with this aesthetic. However, when you're shopping for straps, 22 is really difficult to find nice, classy looking dress straps. Mostly what you'll find is big, bulky, tough looking straps. So yeah, you may have luck tracking down a 22mm width Rios shell Cordovan strap. I know their 18mm ones look great, and I should know because I own a lot of them. As for the specifications on this watch, the case size is 33.5mm, the lug-to-lug is 43mm, the lug width is 22mm, the case is steel, the crystal is mineral, The movement inside this watch is the Seagull Caliber 2706. It has 30 meters of water resistance. Alpha also made an interesting looking jumping hour piece. It appears it also was a limited edition. This piece is super interesting. It is all brushed and has visible screws along the left and right edges of the case. It is very industrial style, yet the case almost gives it a touch of dressiness, just due to its shape. Next up, we have a Seiko Solar, and these retail for about $265. And interestingly enough, if you look at the dimensions of this watch on Walmart's website, you'll find that this is actually 6 by 4 by 5 inches. That's a little bit too big for my wrist, but if we track down the dimensions on Seiko's website, we find that this watch is actually 28 millimeters. It is powered by Seiko's solar-powered movement V115. Eislinger sells this movement alone for about $99. There are no jewels in the movement, and it sounds like if you do actually install a seconds hand on this movement, the seconds hand will actually sweep. However, this particular piece is a two-hander. It has a 12-month power reserve when it's fully charged. That's pretty crazy. I really like the case design on this watch. The sides of the case curve slightly along their path from lug to lug, and there's an inset rectangular bezel around the crystal, which I'm assuming is mineral glass at this price point. It appears that this watch is discontinued. I see it listed as sold on Walmart's site, Joma Shop, and even Seiko's own web store. So you may have to track this down in places like eBay or other secondhand sources. As for the specifications on this watch, the case size is 28 millimeters, the case height is 8 millimeters, the lug width is 20 millimeters, the case is steel, the crystal I believe is mineral, the movement is V115, and it has 50 meters of water resistance. Now this next watch is really interesting. On Watch You Seek, I found a Movado Cartier Cintre homage. Yes. Apparently Movado actually made some brilliant tank style watches in the past, such as this listing that I found on Watch You Seek. That is so cool. I absolutely love Cartier Cintres. Oh, so nice. But if you've looked up Cintres, you'll note that they generally do not go for cheaper than around $10,000. But they are absolutely brilliant. I don't see this particular or even a silver variant of it anywhere outside of this particular listing. However, I did find these other Movado pieces, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. So I guess I need to create an eBay search for Movado tank watches. The next watch on my list is the Tissot Lisboa, which retails for about $700 up to $1,000. I did not expect this from Tissot. This brand makes some great, affordable, somewhat Breguet style dress watches, but I've never seen a Tissot tank. Then I encountered the Lisboa. It is not a terribly affordable watch, and it appears to only be available in the used market. In going through a few listings, I found that it apparently has a mineral crystal. So bear that in mind if you decide to go for one and end up paying nearly $1,000 for it. Although Hamilton also sells pieces that are nearly $1,000 and they too have mineral crystals. I don't get it. They have leaf style hands, a sub-second style that just looks great. It's square to carry on the tank aesthetic. And they have a super unique lug design. As for the specifications on these watches, the case size is 27 millimeters, the lug to lug is 43 millimeters, the lug width is 20 millimeters, the case is steel, the crystal, sadly, is mineral, the movement is an ETA 7001, my favorite movement. And these watches have 30 meters of water resistance. So there you have it, some brilliant tank style dress watches. Most of them are limited issues or discontinued, so if you do want some of these pieces, you're gonna have to hunt for them. But then again, hunting is kind of fun. Thanks for watching.